my mantra is you must give a shit. Please, if you work for me, if you work with me, I love the vibe of giving a shit. It shows me so many things, and it's so important.
Yeah.
Whether it's from internal purposes or external purposes, customers can tell, I can tell. There's very little that's worse than walking up to a place and the server looks at you with that, what do you want?
Yeah. How do you get somebody to give a shit?
I pay them well. I show them I care. We do weekly payrolls, things like that are designed to help them understand that I know what you're going through. I may be the one driving a nice car, but you're the ones that make that happen for me. And I want them to understand that.
What up, Unstoppables? We have a great episode today, but real quick, we want to invite you to make the most important investment of your life. It's not a secret. There's no smoke and mirrors. I'm not even trying to pull a fast one on you. I'm going to be pretty straightforward. The best investment you can make in your life is in yourself. And the best way to invest in yourself is by investing in your network, putting time and energy, surrounding yourself with the best. You are the average of those you surround yourself with. In that Restaurant Unstoppable network, I've made it easy. Over the past 12 years and 1,200 plus episodes, I've been researching and talking to people and trying to figure out how do you become successful in the restaurant industry. And I've curated a network of tools, services, technologies, and individuals, experts that I would go to tomorrow if I'm opening a restaurant. And I'm bringing you to that network with live events, whether it be a workshop, a mentoring session, a power hour, or access to me twice a month where I just listen and steer you in the right direction, all happening at Restaurant Unstoppable Network. Head over to restaurantunstoppable.com/live. You also get this amazing access to all the recordings, RU Network podcast, which includes bonus ad-free and early release content. It also gives you access to our Unstoppable bot. It is a custom AI agent that is fed with 1,200 plus transcripts, over 2,400 hours of transcripts plus bonus content, all cross-referenced with our database. This is a powerful AI tool that you also get access to as well. What are you waiting for? Head over to restaurantunstoppable.com/live and we'll see you there. This episode made possible by Restaurant Systems Pro. With excitement, allow me to introduce to you today's guest, owner-operator of Root Beer Industries, which consists of Jewboy Burgers, Sliders, Subs, and Cantina. Mo Pittle, my man Mo, are you feeling unstoppable today?
Look at me. You want to try to stop me?
I don't want to try, no. I'm going for your ankles if I do, though.
Yeah, it's 100%, and I'm not just saying that. That is, I've been an entrepreneur since I was 29 years old. And if you don't feel that way, I feel like you've got problems.
Yeah, man. You almost need a level of delusion to keep going in this industry.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Delusional thinking can generate some very interesting ideas.
I'm here because Jeff Gothard called you out from Kick Hospitality. Spoke to both Jeff and his partner, doing great things with Kick Hospitality, and he had amazing things to say about you. Currently, how many different brick and mortars do you have today?
Okay, so Jewboy Burgers is our quote-unquote flagship, and I have to quote that because I'm not so sure that that's what I really want to call it. But that's where we started with. That. And then I have the Jewboy Sub Shop, which is also brick and mortar.
Got it.
Then we have 2 trailers doing sliders, Jewboy Sliders, and then a third that is under construction right now is going to be part of a company called Pins Mechanical, which interestingly enough is out of Ohio, which is where I was born. Raised in Texas, but born in Ohio, so I am a Browns fan. Sadly. But and so we're going to be inside of there. So it's not exactly a truck, but it is still sliders and a very limited menu. But it's with that in mind that where people drink, they like to eat, and vice versa. Got it.
And real big picture in terms of so those concepts. Would you say that Jewboy Burgers is in terms of your cash cow? It's the one that's the leader?
It's the heavy lifter for sure.
And it's been around. You started with that in 2017?
So 2016, October of 16, I started as a food truck.
Got it.
And the whole purpose of that endeavor was to create a case study for my marketing firm. So at the time I had started with a full service ad agency, did that for 12 years, and then realized that I felt like I needed a break. The overhead, the nature of the clients you have to take when you have overhead can really affect you. So I was going to consult.
Yeah, we're going to pull all the layers back on that real quick. I just kind of want to give us an idea of like where you are with like numbers.
Okay, so with those 5 locations, we opened and then had to close for a number of reasons. The Cantina concept, which is border style Mexican comfort food, still under the Jewboy brand. So with those in mind, let me think. I got to do the math, and it's not my strong suit. We're running about $5 million.
$5 million.
Yeah, and our
and that's 3 brick and mortars, 2 trailers.
Yes,
got it. And with the Jewboy Burgers, because I think that's probably what we're going to be talking about most today, right? Because that's where most of your time has been spent.
Correct.
In terms of prime costs, where are you at with your labor?
So labor, it's interesting. The way we work it here is we incorporate the tips. Now, tips were a real sticky point for us, but we're running about 26 to 7% labor.
Okay. Cost of goods?
High 20s, low 30s, kind of depending on what the economy's doing and what our...
Okay.
We don't buy a whole lot of stuff, so that when one thing changes, it has a dramatic beef, for example.
You're floating between 55 and 60%?
Correct.
In that ballpark?
Yeah.
And what about your occupancy rate? Or like your percentage there? Like how much was rent?
Minimal. I mean, comparatively speaking,
3%?
because
4%?
Yeah, if that, yeah.
Okay.
Now, specifically on Jewboy Burgers, obviously the trailers are different because they have very little rent. The new space we're going into, we negotiated a trailer style contract.
Okay.
So same thing.
Got it. And with your Jewboy concept, would you say, what is it, like 50, 40 seats?
God, I don't know. It was an old Kentucky Fried Chicken, so whatever that is. I should know these things.
I've gotten pretty good at like going into a space and being like, okay, because I'm looking around and trying to figure out the economics from like, and it's counter service.
Well, it is counter service will always be counter service for me. Nothing against servers, but I just don't have the bandwidth for them.
Yeah.
If you include the patios, it expands dramatically.
Right.
And we built an extra patio on because we started during COVID. So,
so anywhere from like 30 to 60 during like when you're on all cylinders.
God, all cylinders, we could probably be closer to about 200.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because you've got those patios are big, and there's a lot of one side has larger tables for larger
picnic
groups.
Tables, like you can get 8 people at one of those if you want to.
Yeah. We've had people come in and do impromptu bachelor party type things and birthday parties and stuff like that.
The product looks phenomenal.
Thank you.
By the way, man. Like from the branding to the actual product itself, the food. I was shooting some B-roll. I don't always shoot the B-roll before the conversation, so it's kind of cool to get in there and see the food. And I'm definitely leaving with a burger.
Please, and a burrito. You got to have both, man.
Okay. Hey, twist my arm. So counter service. Are they running food or calling food?
We use Toast has a function where you can text them and people will come get it. If it sits for more than a couple minutes, I have them go looking for people. But
cool.
We're trying to be as lean as possible.
I love that. Let's get into that later too. Yeah. Okay, so before we kind of I went a little out of order today. I'm not going to lie. I usually have you share the success quote or mantra first. So let's have you get that motivational ball going with that. What do you got for us?
Yeah, my mantra is you must give a shit. Please, if you work for me, if you work with me, I love the vibe of giving a shit. It shows me so many things, and it's so important.
Yeah.
Whether it's from internal purposes or external purposes, customers can tell, I can tell. There's very little that's worse than walking up to a place and the server looks at you with that, what do you want?
Yeah. How do you get somebody to give a shit?
I pay them well. I show them I care. We do weekly payrolls, things like that are designed to help them understand that I know what you're going through. I may be the one driving a nice car, but you're the ones that make that happen for me. And I want them to understand that.
Do you have more than one car?
Yeah, I got a couple.
Okay. The car that you said that was yours in the parking lot.
No, that's a 99 Isuzu V-Cross. For sale, by the way, if you're looking for one. I've got a 71 Mustang Mach 1 that I'm, same thing, trying to get rid of. I've got an F-250.
So you might be the one driving the nice car is what you were saying. I was like, I raised an eyebrow. I was like, what car are you talking about, buddy?
No, not that one. Although it's got a hell of a stereo in it. Brings me back to my days in high school.
So basically, like, what was that train of thought? You might be the one driving the nice car, but what?
But I know that I'm not the end all. Like, yeah, I started this. Yes, I'm accountable. Yes, I'm the one that has something on the line. But it just doesn't happen without him. And I can't be here all the time, and I don't want to be here all the time. So I show them that I care. I've bailed employees out of jail. I've paid for medical procedures. And I get it. It's not something that's scalable. But at the time, and for right now, it's who I am. It's what I want them to know about me. And you can't ask somebody to give a shit about you if you don't give a shit about them.
100%. You got to give before you get.
Yeah, and it works itself out. And I've even had people quit. They say, because you know what, Mo, I really don't give a shit anymore.
Yeah.
Fair.
Looking at your background, I got really excited for today's conversation. Clearly, branding, marketing, understanding who you are, communicating that is a big part of your background. It was what you were doing up until 2016.
Right.
How far back should we go? Where should we start sharing your story?
It's a great question. For me, it's probably my 4th year of college when I decided after 4 years of pre-med I did not want to be a doctor. And had to explain that to my folks.
4 years.
I went through the whole thing.
Oh,
yeah,
I can relate, man.
I'm good at trivia. I got enough useless crap in my head, but I realized then that I wanted creativity to be a part of my existence. And it took a while to figure out that you could actually make a living doing that, because I come from a background of fairly straightforward thought process. You're a doctor, you're a lawyer, you're an engineer. You have to be one of those 3 things. And I've probably made it worse in my head than it was, but the pressure's there. When you grow up in a certain way and you want to exceed what your parents have done. And I never realized that there were multiple paths. And the reason I'm telling you this is because I then spent, so that would be from 96 until 2016. So was that 20 years?
Yeah.
Yeah. In a field that was driven by creativity. As a creative director, as a copywriter by trade, You're trained to look at things from all angles. You're trained to see different ways to achieve a result. And when I pivoted and created the food truck, it was not with being a restaurateur in mind. It was a case study. I really wanted to prove to some of my clients that, look, listen to me, give me a chance. Let's do it my way, and if it doesn't work, I'll be accountable. And I tried different types of incentive billings and things like that, but really at the end of the day, if you can't show them something, they're not going to go with it. And even then, I hated the fact that I was told what to do and then held accountable. To this day, it still bothers me. You came to me, you know what I do and why I do it. Now let me do it. And you come off angry, and I'm not an angry person. I want to be an angry person. It's bad for the heart. So once I got into the food industry, I realized how much I liked it. But I approach it like a marketing project. I still approach it like a case study, for better or worse. And I think in most cases, because we're sitting here today, I think you could argue for better. But there are certainly some times that I'm just not a good restaurateur because I'm looking at it through that objective, creative lens and not through a real hard business lens. And so over the last few years, I've gotten better about taking a step back from that. But you asked where the story begun. It's when I realized that creativity can be a way to make a living. That you don't have to be a starving artist. You don't have to be, from the outside fighting in. I used to say to my political clients, I would say to them, the Death Star never blew up from the outside. Each time it blew up, somebody had to get way deep inside there and do something to it. And I feel the same with whatever type of endeavor you're doing. If you're going to propose change, you have to be on the inside.
Yes, dude. Yes. I say it all the time. Change comes from the inside out.
This is the Trojan horse thing, all these things. But for whatever reason, the angry people like to stand outside the walls and throw rocks, when the people that can actually do something and get change made, you got to go on the inside. And so for me, like I said, I still look at it that way. And it's a little heavy thought for cheeseburgers, but to me, and I had this conversation the other day with somebody. I talk to the customers a lot. I like talking to the customers. I think you talk about marketing research, you're not going to get any better than talking to a customer who's eating your food.
Right. Feedback. Yeah.
Yeah. They're there. I walk around. I look at what they're eating, what they're not eating. But what were we talking about that made me laugh? Oh, man. Too much gummies these days. I got to back off on those things. I lose my train of thought a lot.
I was wondering, did I smell something when I walked in here earlier?
We think that I don't personally smoke. I'm a big fan of the chemistry of edibles. Yes, I like that.
I was like, maybe it might be that kind of interview today. We'll see where this goes.
can't work high.
Yeah, I'm there with you, man.
I've tried. I've got a few guys that work for me and I've always told them, I said, look, you do what you have to do to be the best you.
Right. And I've, like I will say, I love most of the things in life that that are not good for you, but I've learned also that like, I like being productive more.
Yeah. It's
so there's a time and place, and there seems to be fewer places and times in my life right now, but no judgment there.
Yeah. And I've got kids. That was a weird period in which you're just like, and now they'll get high with me, but that's a different story.
Hey man, maybe that's a conversation for another day, but where does it make sense to start? Like going back, I think you kind of give us a glimpse of what you were doing, but I think there's lessons there, and I don't want to just pass over the marketing and the copywriting. And I say this often, and it's a pattern I'm seeing in the people that I'm interviewing, is that it's no longer the chef general manager combo that is like the rocket fuel, the visionary integrator, like combination, creativity management that like seems to make it. There's more going on today, and it's almost like you need the culinary talent, you need the operational talent, you need the legal talent, you need the CFO talent, and you also need this marketing talent. You're seeing more marketers getting into the game, and that's their lane, and they have equity. They're partners in the business, and they focus solely on marketing.
I'm going to drop a word on you that I'm going to use ad nauseum, and feel free to stop me from saying it. You have to have a narrative. We are a narrative-driven society. I don't care what you do, who you are. If you don't have a narrative that somebody can internalize and then, in the best of situations, externalize it, tell people about it. It's great to come up with all these great things, but if nobody knows about it, who cares?
Yeah.
And when it comes to marketing now, based on things like social media and the way that the internet has just diversified communications, I mean, we could get very academic here, but for the better part of the modern society, it's been a very linear path. It's been print, then it was radio, then it was broadcast. You had billboards, you had newspapers, things like that, but it was all very linear, and very few people controlled the narrative. The internet comes along, and it goes from this very linear, streamlined thing to out of control.
Fractionalized.
There's information coming at us, and I personally believe that we as human beings are undergoing an evolutionary period.
Oh, for sure.
I don't think our brains were wired, especially our age, guys that are my age and older, to get this much information all at once is overwhelming. And so when you think about how you're going to communicate, you have to take these things into consideration. So with the idea of Jewboy Burgers was a way to learn social media, start a narrative. I would have clients come to me. This is back in 2014 and 15. We want to be on Facebook because it's free. No, wait a second. And I got on. I checked it out. I was like, at first it was fun. Like, oh, I haven't seen that dude in a long time. Oh, look at him. He's fat. He's skinny. He's rich. He's this. And then the human highlight reel took over. And next thing you know, so much of this stuff is curated and created. And most people don't have the bandwidth, the intellectual bandwidth, to recognize what's real and what's made up. And I think it's created a mental block for a lot of people. I think you could consider that about half this country is not able anymore to discern between reality and fiction.
Right.
And I don't want to get political or anything here, but
no, please do. I kind of want to get more
explains-
political. It's one of the reasons why I'm like hesitant about getting more sponsors on the show, because I'm worried about like what I want to say,
Look, racism isn't enough to split a society down the middle, because the numbers don't make sense. It can't be racism. Racism is nice to put out there to say, yeah, because it's bad.
Right.
And we all know it's bad. But what is causing half of our society to think completely different from the other half? And I'm not going to get on one side or the other here, but I'm asking the question.
It's politics.
What? But
it's
we've
lobbying.
had politics for a long time. When have we ever been so diametrically opposed?
So, yeah. Go on.
For me, this comes from that inability to figure out what's real and what's fake.
Right. So you said something earlier, and I think you were right, and I agree. And so there is, like the evolution of media has been very linear, right? Or communication. It started with the printing press, and then it went to print media, which was it all stemmed from the printing. Before that, it was word of mouth.
Yeah.
It was all word of mouth, and then it went to stone tablets and the printing press, and then to your point, radio, television, and then the internet came, and it was a really great time because we could. It was no longer about who had the most money had the message. It was whoever had the best message gets the attention. And if you were good at exposing things and communicating and storytelling, you could get exposure. And that was cool for like 20 years or maybe 15 years. And then the money started to figure it out. And like they're like, we really need to get our hands around this internet thing. And we're going back to linear, where now the money controlled the print, the money controlled the radio, the money controlled the television. There were 3 TV stations for like the longest time that owned everything, right?
Yep.
And now there's 3 companies that own the internet, mostly. If you're talking about eyes on the screen, it's Google, it's Meta, and it's TikTok.
Yeah.
And then you get like the other players in the restaurant industry, like Yelp and all those other things too. It's back to where we were.
Please ask me about Yelp later. Well, keep that in your file.
The point being is like we kind of had this moment of like Wild Wild West and like opportunity.
Yeah.
And now the money is kind of came back in and said, no. We control this again. And to your point, the marketers, and I say this a lot, and it's exactly what you're talking about. I've had now into 1,200 episodes I've recorded, plus no one's ever discussed this, that, you cannot tell what's real anymore. And as I'm saying this, what's going through your mind? I don't want to talk too much. What do you think?
No. It goes back to the narrative. You have to own your narrative, because if you don't own your narrative, somebody else is going to. And when they tell your story, it's never going to be as good as when you tell your own story. When you control the customer experience, when you control things that had felt like they were commoditized for years, are now right back into the forefront of what you need to do. I've said this, and I'll say it to everybody.
When things you commoditized for years is now at the forefront, what do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, certain things were just given. They were understood, and restaurants weren't as concerned necessarily about their customer experience, because they knew they could control that by the food looking a certain way, the servers falling into a script. Like everything was. This is very much a McDonald's thing, right? They turned everything into the set. They kind of lost their creativity.
Yeah.
Now it's a little high of me to say. I mean, but it's
certain
true.
Aspects,
everything
not everybody, but like verticals of the industry.
Yeah, it became programmed. Yeah. And programming is good in certain sense, but in other ways it just shuts down innovation, it shuts down creativity, it shuts down a broader perspective. You're stuck within those rails go up, and you can't get outside of those rails. You don't want your people getting outside of them. You don't want your business getting. You make sure that everything stays here. Yeah, it works if you've got how many thousands of locations McDonald's has, but that's not the model moving forward for anybody who's trying to break into the industry. I mean, yeah, I've seen a couple of fast food things spark up. I don't know, man. I worked on the McDonald's account when I was back east. The numbers I saw, at the time they had 45% of the QSR market, which is $1 trillion market.
That's wild.
I mean, it's crazy when you think people don't realize how big McDonald's is, how influential McDonald's is. And so for that reason, so many people kind of fall into that, whether they realize it or not. They've seen the founder, they're running their business the way McDonald's runs their business. Even fine dining falls into that category. And I'm not suggesting a complete revolution, but what I'm saying is that if you're going to try to talk to customers now, you're competing with McDonald's for voice. You're competing with some of these big entities that can just squash you just because, like you said, it's now back to being money. Yeah. So what are you going to do to get outside of that? How are you going to create something that is relevant to a consumer and is relevant enough that they're going to tell their friends about it? We're back to word of mouth.
Yeah.
And that's really what this is a very fancy way of saying we now have just a very big mouth.
Well, it's interesting. I think that as we're talking a little bit before we got started about the world of AI and what's happening here, I wonder sometimes if the internet is starting to go so far, like you're seeing more and more AI on social media, and I don't want to be entertained by artificial creativity. I don't. I have no desire to be entertained by artificial creativity. And I think that because people are just so over social media, nobody's doing it because they want to. They're doing it because they have to. And they're going to delegate it to social. They're going to delegate it to automation and fake creativity. And I hope it's a death spiral, man. I hope it's a death spiral, and I hope things go back to word of mouth, because I think as we learn more about the human element, and at the end of the day, business is all about relationships, and relationships are a human thing. And word of mouth is still to this day king in terms of what people trust.
This episode is made possible by Restaurant Systems Pro. And at Restaurant Unstoppable, we are huge fans of Restaurant Systems Pro, so much that we are partnering with Restaurant Systems Pro, and they are going live Every other week, twice a month, they are going live in Restaurant Unstoppable Network. Fred Langley, the CEO of Restaurant Systems Pro, we will have access to him and he will go through your P&L. You do not have to be a Restaurant Systems Pro client to take advantage of this. He will literally tear apart your P&L and he will help you find the gaps so you can increase your profit by 5% or more. He is literally saving people's restaurants in Restaurant Unstoppable Network. If you want to take advantage of not just Restaurant Systems Pro, their budgeting, their costing, their inventory, their labor management, their training, their general ledger, all tied to your POS, this amount of data is insanely ridiculous. Beyond that, he's making himself available to coach you. This is all happening at restaurantunstoppable.com/live. We'll see you there.
Let me give you an example. We tried, and I'm not unwilling to try anything, honestly. I look at this as house money sometimes. And again, that's coming back to that creative director's look. We went into a food hall, and it's a really great food hall. I like the general manager, convinced me to go in there. And I was curious to see if we could exist in a corporate entity, in a corporate environment, something that was really regulated and structured like I was talking about. The first thing they suggested is, well, you don't need a front of house. You just put a kiosk up there, let people order their own food. Well, is a kiosk going to give a shit about what you want to eat? Is a kiosk going to be able to answer your questions? And even if it could, even if there's a beautifully descriptive, part in there about what you're going to eat, is it the same as, when people come up to me like, well, what should I get? I go, well, let's start with a couple questions. Do you like savory or like spicy? Oh, I like spicy. So most people will come in, especially if they've been waiting in line, they're just like, I'll just have a Jewboy burger and cool. No, man. Do you like lettuce, pickles, mustard, and cheese? They think about it. And I go to see, they build to the side, they build up, or they build down. Nobody builds their burger in front of you. Like, I don't really like mustard. Cool. Our house sauce is a smoky aioli that we created. It's awesome on that burger. I love it. So you've just, from that one little piece of human interaction, you've just made their experience infinitely better. Because they may get it and eat it with mustard. So, well, it's the Jewboy burger and I've heard about it and I've been waiting in line for 30 minutes to get it. But that's not enough. They have to, all these questions are so important in making sure that they get the experience that they want. It's not that big of a deal to ask questions, to have a conversation. Does it slow us down a little bit? Yeah. I'm not on the register as often as I used to be because apparently I slow things way down now.
I had Aaron Franklin on the show a couple of days ago, and he was saying, he's like, I had to get off the line.
Yeah, yeah, because everybody wants to talk to you. They want to, It's funny, we just did a little project with Aaron, and him and I have had those conversations before because obviously he's light years ahead of me in terms of progress and what he knows about the industry. But I think there was something very cool, and always is, that he's a real person.
Oh, yeah.
That you can still get that, especially in markets like Austin now.
Well, it's funny that I bring... Sorry, do you have something to add?
Well, I was just going to say, I can't speak for other markets.
Yeah.
I know that they're different, but Austin really requires some type of personal connection. Weirdness. I want to know you.
A little weird?
Yeah, I mean, and I have used that in the past, even though as a copywriter, it burns me. It's almost like, do you have to tell someone, if you're truly weird, do you really have to tell them you're weird? Yeah, and that is something that I've had issues with for a long time in terms of branding of the city, but it doesn't mean that it's the wrong thing.
Yeah.
It just, the way it's executed bothers me.
I shot a little video after my conversation with Aaron because I was reflecting and I was like, is the age of the Aaron Franklins of the world dead? Like, is he a dying breed where he could come into this world and just be passionate about a thing and just do it better and better and better every day to the point where he creates his own basic vertical in the world of barbecue, very unique, but that is almost now like the standard, right? For like so many people do similar things to him. He wasn't on social media. He wasn't promoting himself. He was smoking meat every day, and he loved it, and he got better at it every day. And then from that, he has grown the Aaron Franklin brand, or the Franklin Barbecue brand. He only has one location of the barbecue joint. He opened a second restaurant, but but in terms of the Franklin brand, he didn't scale a restaurant. He scaled a brand.
Because it stays special that way. Right. And I've had this discussion with investor types and with just, family and friends. And I'm back and forth on it. One thing about me, I do flip-flop. I'll be the first to admit it. I get in a mood and I hear something and it makes sense. I go, oh, well, then we should do this. And, oh, we should do that. And I've learned to give myself time and space. But, yeah, it to me makes all the sense in the world.
Right.
that is Franklin barbecue.
Right.
And when you come to Austin, it's on every list of must-sees and must-dos.
Right. And ironically, he will never qualify for a Michelin star when the whole idea of the Michelin star is you must travel to this place. And how many people who travel to Austin are going for Franklin barbecue?
I see a lot
It's
of
just
them.
so stupid. Sorry.
I don't really understand. I mean, the world of advertising is loaded with awards. Like, I've got somewhere in my garage, I got a box of them, and my wife asked me the other day, she goes, what are you going to do with those things? And I said, they just kind of remind me of the nonsense that you can get yourself into, but how important sometimes nonsense may be.
Right.
Like, the whole line of playing the game.
Oh, my Lord, dude. What do you mean by playing the game?
Well, it's funny. It was an intern that explained this to me that I had when I first opened my agency, 29 years old, 30, and we'd been doing some great work. That's truly what I wanted to do. I wanted out of corporate America so I could do really kick-ass work. I felt like it's all that mattered. I said, the better your work is, the better your success is going to be. And that's super naive. That's just a classic creative guy not thinking about the rest of the business. But one of my interns early on was a student, and the students had taken over the Addy Awards. Addies are the local, regional, national awards. The American Advertising Federation puts them on. So if you win local, you compete regional, and then you compete national. And he said, dude, you got to enter some stuff into the Addies. And I said, I've got a box full of awards. I've done that. He goes, you have, but Two Ton has not. Two Ton Creativity was the name of my agency. He goes, Two Ton needs that. Damn, you're right. So we did it and won a bunch of awards. And what it did is it brought me media, it brought me press, it brought me eyes on, things like that I didn't think I really needed. I'm still thinking. So I think in the restaurant industry, some of these awards are similar in that case. Like, yeah, it's cool when you win a best of competition, and I'm super proud of them. But if that's what's defining your success, then you've missed a lot. You've stopped looking at the bigger picture, and you're just being led along by your ego. And I said it's a balance. I'm not saying it's entirely unnecessary, but find the balance and respect the balance. Don't find yourself just chasing around after every little dinky award you can get and put it up on your wall. I respect people that put celebrities up on their wall. It's not my thing. It's not my vibe. I have no issues with it. But, they've come in here. I don't take pictures with them. It's funny. I had a picture of me and Ryan Reynolds up because I met him at a party one time years ago. And I was just looking for anything to put up on the wall. And I put the picture of me with Ryan Reynolds up on the wall. And my wife gave me a hard time. She's like, you're full of crap. It looks like he came into the restaurant. I go, yeah, well, so. And she's like, that's bullshit, and that's not you. And I respect her. And we're the yin yang couple. She's the one that tells it like it is, and I'm the one that tells it like I want it to be. So just little things like that you have to come back to this concept of narrative. What's the narrative that people are taking away from your place? Beyond the food, what's the atmosphere? What's their customer experience like? All of it matters. And I think to the traditional restaurateur, they're skeptical of the marketing and these things that are intangible because they've been so involved in tangibility for so long. First thing you asked me is about prime costs and things like that. And yes, they're very, very important. Tangibles will dictate success. I get that. But it's the intangibles that will give you the really big pops. It's the intangibles that give you the opportunity to go to the next level, to see things that you might not have seen before because you were so focused on tangibility, you forgot to control your narrative. You forgot to look at some of these small things that can have a very big effect.
Right.
So I realize that's very preachy, but that's genuinely how I feel.
No, I'm 100% aligned with everything you just said, and I was really trying hard to keep my mouth shut because I wanted to just go off. But I'm 100% with you, and the reason why I ask about tangibles and numbers is because I'm like you. I'm a visionary. I'm a dreamer. Don't play the game, expose the game, fuck the game. I get myself in trouble because I could be a better game player, but at the same time, I realized that you can go out and chase awards. You can get the Michelin stars. You can get the James Beard. You can get the best of. You can suck Thrill's stick and Eater's dick. You can do all that shit. Yep. You can play the politics. But at the end of the day, if you're chasing awards and you're not making money, you're not going to make it. And I think that, to your point, the intangibles are so important in this industry, but they are nothing unless you can run a business, and that's where people get in trouble in this industry.
This is the diners, drive-ins, and dives conundrum.
Right.
I like it. I watch it. It's fun. He's a funny dude. I dig him. I don't have any issues with him. the reality of it, though, is a little tough on a lot of restaurants. Closed for 3 days, and a lot of people, he reserves the right, as he should, to not air your footage. If you're not good, he's not going to put you on there.
Right.
So you've closed for 3 days. You've had to bring in your friends. You've had to do all this stuff. Obviously, it works very well for most people. But I've heard otherwise. I've heard stories otherwise. And again, if you don't know what your narrative is, you're allowing him to come in and tell your narrative, and it's no different than customers. It's just, again, it's this manic control of what's being said and what's being felt that, to me, is so much bigger than success based on numbers. Because I'm going to rephrase that. Let's stop that. Numbers are what defines your success. Let's not. But big picture thinking, along with a great team, is what I look for.
Yeah, you need a balance.
A balance,
You definitely need a balance, and I think that's really what I'm trying to do with the show, is to get in and to get into the mind. To get into, it's not just about what is your brand. It's not about just the marketing. It's not just about the food. It's literally HR. Prime costs, labor costs,
like I said,
rents.
Give a shit.
Legal.
If every department, every entity that's involved in your business gives a shit, those things tend to fall in place a lot easier.
Right.
And so for me, having that as a mantra, having that as a directive, it gets a little thin when you get down to dishwashers and floor employees, but I still like them to smile.
Right.
I still like them to we went through a whole discussion about dress code early on. I'm a 53-year-old dad of 2 daughters. I'm far from conservative, but at the same time, it's like, can she wear that? Can we do this? And then the more I thought about it, I was like, you know what? I trust my 25-year-old manager to tell me that's good. And if not, I said, well, then if one of these girls comes in or one of these guys comes in with something, we had a guy come in with a shirt that said, what did it say? It was something inappropriate. And at first, it was a punk rock shirt. And I was like, how can a place called Jewboy Burgers tell somebody something's inappropriate?
Right. And
that's where you find yourself. That's tough. And
and it's weird. It's like, and I think people have to understand that. Like, your brand, like what is professional, right? Like, what is on brand? Like, what's allowed here? And I think that your brand guide, and like, as long as you are understanding of like what is allowed and what isn't allowed, as long as it supports your brand, like you can be anything you say you are, right?
And as long as
exactly, and it doesn't have to be like quote unquote professional. Like you can be whatever you say you are, and you can draw your own lines, right? And I think that that's one thing people don't understand. And as long as the people who are working for you are agreeing to the terms, and you get that in documentation someplace where like, here are the lines, don't cross these lines. But outside of that, like, as long as the lines are clearly drawn, I think that's what's most important.
And I would hate for somebody watching, listening to this to think that, well, I just need to come up with something contentious. I just need to come up with something that gets, we used to talk about this with advertising. I wrote a headline one time for a gym. I went in there and I did my research. I talked to the members. And overwhelmingly, their initial response was something health related. Well, I'm in here for my heart or for my weight or for this or that. Once you got to talking to them for a little while, you realize it was mostly vanity.
Yeah, they want to get laid. And
so, so the headline on the billboard said, "Do it for your loved one. They have to see you naked." Yeah, people freaked. They're like, "Oh my God, you can't say that. You can't, do this and that." But there was strategy behind it. If I really just wanted to get people's attention for no reason, with no purpose in mind, a pair of bare boobs on a billboard gets it every time. You could do things like that. I'm not a big believer in it. This is another phrase that I take issue with. Yes, there is such thing as bad press. Yes, it will tear you apart. It will take you down. You should not be just throwing yourself out there. Car dealerships have done a good job of arguing otherwise. But at the end of the day, what they're doing is more just annoying than it is contentious.
Right.
I don't want people coming out of something like this thinking, well, if I just come up with, something... all the terms that are loosely coming back into the lexicon, I still don't hear a whole lot of people using the term WAP, but that's been thrown to me a few times, with Italian.
Are you Italian?
No.
I was going to say.
No, I'm actually 100% gringo, man. People have changed the narrative a little. They think I'm Mexican and Jewish. There are a lot of Mexican Jews, but no, I'm as Ashkenaz as you can get.
I'm not gonna lie. When I saw your brand, I was like, "How can I play on that with Italian? Like Wop Burger, Guinea Burger. Like that's fun. Like it's a little, but I think it still doesn't match."
And I stood on the shoulders of giants. I saw that in your part of your branding as well. Kinky Friedman laid a lot of groundwork for me. Kinky Friedman was a singer-songwriter from the 60s.
Yeah. I was thinking
he had a band called the Texas Jewboys.
Okay.
And he played throughout the 70s, 80s, very, very well known here in Central Texas. His shtick was he'd spend half his time in Kerrville, Texas, and the other half in the city in New York. And it worked. He's contemporary of Bob Dylan, those guys. You know, he was respected. But I always just assumed that Jewboy had kind of passed over that magic barrier, which is, yeah, if you use it with the right tone. I mean, what's the discussion with the N-word? Like, if you leave off the R at the end, it's okay? You know,
I think it matters what your skin tone is when you're saying it.
and again, cracks me up. First thing a lot of people ask, are you Jewish? Yeah, man. Yes, I am. Am I the world's greatest Jew based on the theology? Absolutely not. There's bacon and cheese and meat in there, but I have grown up in a fairly traditional Reformed Jewish household, and I took from it a lot of the heritage, the traditions, the customs, the humor. Who's not a Mel Brooks fan, right? I mean, these things just they created a position for me to work from.
Right. So why did you get out of that world of marketing? Like for you said you were tired of the game. You wanted to get out of, what was like the straw that broke the camel's back?
I just despise this being told what to do and then being held accountable.
So what do you mean being told what to do?
Well, okay, so you come to me and you got a product, a widget, and I come up with a position and a strategy and a line and a logo and a look, and you look at it and you go, wow, that's really creative. But I'd really like to focus on, you change this and do that. With the same strategy, with the same end goal in mind, they just feel like, imagine going to your doctor and saying, oh, my elbow really hurts. And he goes, that's fine, let's do some knee surgery. It doesn't work that way. And for whatever reason with marketing, because so many people feel so connected to it and feel as if they have a good idea. And I'm not saying they're not, not all my ideas are great and not all of the client's ideas are bad. But in general, when there's money on the line, when there's a true deliverable required, I would rather be accountable for my own work and not something that the client has twisted and turned. And when I was younger, it didn't matter to me as much. I saw it as just another hurdle.
Right.
But then when you're the agency owner, much like a restaurant owner, it's your money, it's your accountability. When you have to make payroll, and they're just turning your work into garbage.
Right. And it's not going to, they're not going to be happy with the end result. And it's not because you didn't tell them what to do. It's because they didn't listen.
Or if it does work, then they say, well, I didn't need you. I knew what to do.
Wow, right.
It works both ways. So this is an older guy speaking about marketing. When you're younger, I'd walk through a wall, man. I didn't care what you put in front of me. I would sit there till 3, 4, 5 in the morning, throwing ideas up on the wall and talking with my art directors and saying, look, let's get this. Let's figure out a better way. And there's a guy named Luke Sullivan who wrote a book called Hey Whipple, Squeeze This. And it's textbook for any creative that really wants to be deep into the industry. And he talks about if somebody makes you do something 15 times, the 16th is likely to be the best. I don't know, man.
It's like the widget. Like if you're given like this competition where they say like if you like you get two groups and you're tasked to create something that's the best, it's the one that just starts making things that wins because they get repetitions in. But you're saying that maybe might not be true.
Let me throw another book at you. You know Gladwell, Matthew Gladwell.
Malcolm
Gladwell. Blink was the first one that I read that made sense to me. Blink was the one that got in my head where it's like you got to start trusting your instincts. You've been doing this for a while, but then when you read Outliers, he talks about those 10,000 hours. Yeah. And I believe that he's on it. I mean, 100%.
I think it's a combination of the two, right? Like there's something to be said about just starting. Mm-hmm. Right. And just like trust your gut and like, just keep showing up and getting better and better and better. But there's also something that to be said that if you do that for 10,000 hours, you're going to have you're going to be an outlier. So it's like a multiplier effect.
Right. My first 4 years on a food truck, I cleared my 10,000 hours personally, talking to customers, cooking burgers myself, cleaning the place, filling it up with fuel, doing all the things that you need to do to run a food truck. Those were my 10,000 hours. And so when we went into brick and mortar, I had a nice, crisp view of what I thought things should be across the board. Without being a seasoned restaurateur, I still understood because of what we were able to do with a food truck. And it's why I often recommend it. It's like, look, food truck's going to give you proof of concept and proof of product. It cannot give you proof of performance. Performance is a different story. You really need some more factors to come into play for you. Being a physical space where our supplies could be delivered to us. Can't tell you how many hours I spent driving to Restaurant Depot, and I'd go to H-E-B's, a local grocery store here. I got my produce from them because I didn't need it in bulk, so I'd go and get 3 or 4 heads of lettuce per day.
Yeah. So you decide after, playing that game and, trying to coach these clients of yours in the right direction that you need to show them what you're talking about with basically a test subject.
Yeah, case study.
Case study.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you started a restaurant as a case study.
Well, the food truck was a case study.
Okay.
The restaurant is a business.
Okay.
I just didn't think it would get to that. I was looking for a metric because any good case study has to prove that you started from A and you got to B and then this is what happened. So in the spring of 2020, right before the pandemic was really kicking in, we were awarded Best Burger in Austin by Austin Monthly. So that to me was, boom, there's my metric. I'd been on lists and things. The lists are nice, but this was a definitive Best Burger, which I, again, like I said earlier, I'm not a huge fan of these things. But in terms of marketing, it gave me what I was looking for. So the permit expired in October. My plan was just to run out the permit and then go back to work, really refocus on marketing and sell the truck off and go out on top, so to speak. Like, I want to be Tom Brady. I don't want to be one of these guys. Anyways, so
So that whole point of you starting this trailer was to go out there, get proof of concept, get a case study, and say, listen to me, I just developed this brand. In 3 years, I became the best burger in Austin.
Yes.
You're going to leverage that to promote yourself.
Different candidates and say, whether it was going to be politics, whether it was going to be, I could go to different restaurants and say, look, here's a restaurant branding case study that I did without any outside influence. I said what I wanted to. I did what I wanted to. I made the design however I wanted to do it when I felt like something was, and that's how I also learned social media, because I did all the posts. I still do all the posts. I could see which ones people responded to, which ones they didn't respond to, who out there meant, when an influencer would come, who moved the needle, who didn't move the needle. So it gave me a personal opportunity to learn something that made no sense to me before that. Like I said, looking at people's pictures of their kids, their dogs, their trips, that made sense to me. Next thing I know, it's a completely different animal. It's nothing like that. So that was my plan up until 2020.
Okay. So let me ask you this question. Was it the best burger or did you have the best marketing?
Oh, that's a great question. And it's a great question. Like we're trained in marketing to avoid superlatives. Best, ultimate, this, that, and the other. Now, clearly the industry doesn't pay attention to its academics, but I held to that pretty much. I try to avoid that. The analogy I use is interpersonal relationships, dating. And I realize I may be a little old school here, but let's just take that for a second. When you walk up to a girl, in my case, I'm heterosexual, and so I'm at a bar or something, and I want to try to get to know this woman. Am I going to run up to her, get right in front of her face, and yell my name 3 times and tell her I'm the best every time too? How's that going to work out? And maybe there's a girl out there that's like, okay, I've never seen this product. But for the most part, you want to establish a narrative.
You're going to say, I love that dress. That is beautiful.
Yeah,
and you stepped in toilet paper. You might want to take that off the bottom of your foot. Looking out for you.
Let me give you an even better analogy. Before you come up to see her, what if all her friends said, oh my God, that's Mo Pittle. I've heard he's the nicest guy. I heard he's this. I mean, whatever. But if they're saying positive things about you, by the time you approach her, she's predisposed to want to talk to you, to get to know if it's true or not. But it's a much better place than yelling in her face, I'm Mo and I'm the best 50 times. And that's standard marketing strategy. I never liked it. I know that it's easy for me to say.
So the standard marketing strategy is yelling in people's face, I'm the best.
Don't you think?
Yeah. And that's not what you do.
No.
It's not what you did during this 3-year test period.
No, never. I never paid for any posting. I never pushed it like that. I also firmly believe that a city like Austin, your marketing strategy is almost like an anti-marketing strategy. I've never been the coolest guy in the world. I'm the first to admit it. Like, I try, where I grew up. I grew up in the 80s. We all wanted to be some form of cool. But what I've learned is the more yourself you are, and the more that's a believable thing for people, the better results you're going to get. It may not be what you want. You may not become a rock star. You may not become, all these things. But being true to who you are and creating that narrative with that in mind, it's more effective.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think in the world of sales, right? If you believe in what you're selling, if you're not a salesperson, but you're influencing something that you like others to take advantage of this thing that I discovered because I love it and I've heard of other people. And if you believe in the thing, if you believe in yourself and what you're saying about yourself, it translates different. There's a different frequency that comes off as authentic, and people can pick up on it.
And they know it. Whether they realize it or not, they feel it. And I just go back to that analogy. Like you walk up to a woman, or if you're a woman, you walk up to a man, or you walk up to another woman. Again, I'm not
an interest.
Yes, I know that it's a dated analogy now, and I struggle to just put it out there, but it's the truth. These are interpersonal relationships. This is getting to know somebody and having them feel good about spending money with you.
Right.
I had an old mentor. He was a cranky old madman type, and he said, look, we're not in the business of separating people from their money. We're in the business of separating people from their money and making them feel good about it.
Yeah,
right. I think a lot of restaurants lose sight of that. They become so myopic. They're so mired in what they're doing, and that's what some of these awards will do. That the movies. What was the one Burnt? They turned it into this drama. It's not a drama. If you don't want mustard, I would rather know that, and I'd rather put a different dressing on there. I'd rather, one of the rules we have, and this is a bit of a joke at these points, but I don't do tomatoes. I hate them. I always have since I was a kid. I just think they're the devil's fruit, just an invasive and bitter type thing.
The fact that they're a fruit is surprising.
It's weird.
That's all
right?
you need to know.
So when I started the food truck, I had a friend of mine who's a chef, and he was helping me figure out the menu and stuff. And I'm like looking at the tomatoes. I go, God, they're expensive. And he goes, yeah, they're expensive. They go bad quickly. You got to make sure you get the good ones. You don't put a bad one. It'll ruin the whole thing. I said, well, I don't want tomatoes on my burgers. I don't ever eat them. He goes, well, then don't have them. And I was like, but how can I? And again, this is where you be true to yourself. I don't like them. It's not a deal breaker. I mean, it's one of those things. I've had a few people walk off. Mostly drunk people, but they have walked off. Now my latest thing is I remind people McDonald's doesn't have tomatoes on their burgers.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Probably because it's an operational cost. That's what they're looking at.
Yeah, but I look at it both ways, and so it was a win-win for me.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're dropping a lot on us right now. So back to that 3 years, right? Okay. So you had this case study. You win Best Burger in Austin, mission success. But what about that 3 years did you learn about the restaurant industry in terms of, like, were you trying to make money, or were you just trying to get number one?
I was avoiding losing money. I can put it that way. Yeah. I mean, and it was okay. I mean, I had 2 employees. Typically, I had a lunch cook and a dinner cook, and they had other jobs, so that one would come in and get me opened, and we would work together and do lunch. I would take a break from 2 to 5, and that's when I would do my advertising work. That's when I would either go home and sit at my computer or bring my computer with me. I also had to run errands, had to go get more food if we ran out. I had to get gas, things like that.
How many days were you open?
5.
5 days a week.
5 days a week.
What are
11 to 2 and 5 to 8.
And are you putting the whole world of marketing on the back burner so you can prove this case study?
No, I was doing both.
3 hours a week, or 3 hours a day, you're focusing on marketing
then
stuff?
Sometimes at night, sometimes in the morning early. It just depended on what I was doing. I was doing a lot of consulting then, so a lot of it was just emails. And
So what was the first, like, getting started in 2017? Did you have money from your marketing? Were you making money? Did you have?
I was, but I did take out a personal line of credit.
Okay. So how much did you need to get started?
Well, I'll tell you this. I took out a $100,000 line of credit, and 12 of it went to a PR firm. About 45 of it went to buying the truck and equipping it.
Was it a truck or a trailer?
It was a truck.
Okay.
It was a big truck, and it was a lemon. It broke down several times. Yeah. It was huge. It was built on an old armored truck chassis, but it was a what do you call it? A utilities vehicle.
Okay.
It was massive.
Yeah.
But I also have that ego. I'm from Texas.
I thought you were from Ohio.
Born in Ohio, raised in Texas.
So, okay. So you said 12,000 went to PR.
Absolutely.
45,000 went to the truck.
Yep.
So now you're at 57 or 62,000. What was the 38,000? Where did that go?
So some of it was operating capital. I tried to give myself at least 3 months of operating capital.
You had 3 months of runway where you did not need to make any money.
No, and it wasn't quite that, but the rent was initially nothing, because one of my clients at the time was Mattress Firm, and at one point Mattress Firms were everywhere. They had gone through a period of expansion and acquisitions, and I went to them and I said, hey, I've got a proposal for you. Right now you're the cold corporate store on every block. What if we put a hyper-local business in front to bring eyes on, just make it feel like it was more of a community outreach type thing. So I parked in a Mattress Firm parking lot. No power, no nothing. I had to take that thing out. There were days, God almighty, I remember these days. I'd wake up about 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning. I would go to the store. I would get the things I need. Then I would go to the commissary. The commissary for me, because I didn't know how to find them, was way out in Cedar Park. Drive out there. I had 2 huge coolers, Yeti-style coolers. I would take all the food from the commissary that I needed, the beef, the cheese, whatever I hadn't used the day before, and I'd put it in these coolers, and then I would head to the truck. And usually about that time it was about like 9:30 or so, 10 o'clock, and we'd get the cooler started. So you start the generator, hope the generator starts, get the coolers cooling, and then you put the food, transfer the food in there. Whatever type of prep we needed to do, the guy who worked for me would do, portioning the beef, things like that. And then if I needed to go get anything else, I would go before we opened at 11. I'd come back at 11, do lunch from 11 to 2. Between 2 and 5, if I needed to, I'd go to either Restaurant Depot, Home Depot, or any of these places, get gas, all that stuff, do whatever advertising work I had to do, come back by 5. The dinner guy would have showed up by then. He would have gone in and done whatever prep needed to be done then. We'd run dinner from 5 to 8. At 8 o'clock, on certain nights, we would then shut down, clean, like you have to do, pack all the food up, put it back into these coolers, and I would drive all the way out to Cedar Park, unload the food into the commissary because I couldn't run the generator all night.
Right.
I'd get home, I don't know, about 10 o'clock or so, 10:30. Hopefully I didn't have any advertising work to do, and then I would just pass out and go to sleep. But sometimes I'd be up for another 2-3 hours working. On certain nights, because I had no power on site, because I had to get rid of the gray water, I would have to drive the truck, this massive piece of junk truck, all the way out to Cedar Park, because that's where my commissary was, to dump the gray water.
Where would you dump? Did they have like a...
They had a tank there that they had. They were licensed to have that there.
Got it.
Gray water is very serious business. You don't want to...
I know a little something about it, driving the country in a camper. You don't think about that stuff.
It's awful. It smells. It gets all over you. And then I had to refill the tank up so we had fresh water in there. Then on the way back, I would go to the gas station, put gas in the vehicle itself and in the generator tank, and then take it all the way back down. And then I live in Round Rock, which is also north. Yeah. So I'd get home those nights, usually between 11:30 and midnight.
Wow.
Have to do it again at 7 o'clock in the morning.
Not to mention the cost of fuel, the cost of maintenance.
I mean, again,
it's. I think a lot of people are romanticized about the idea of a food truck, or like that is the way to get started if you can't afford a brick and mortar. I think the pop up is the new food truck.
Yeah, I dig them. I got a couple friends that do them, and I'm happy. They call me, we talk about it. I tell them the ways to get something better, more efficient. But it was about 3.5 months of that, and then I got invited to be at a food truck park.
So 3.5 months was your operating capital. So you had that. So it was the 12% for the PR. The I can't remember what you said. The 45,000. You said the 38,000 was essentially your 3 months of operating capital to pay your employees, to pay yourself. Were you living? Was this you had clients? So you had other cash flow.
So I did, and I'm married to a wonderful woman who makes she's very corporate. She's got her job, her benefits. Like, she truly supported me for those 4 years. I mean, she really did. She was cool about it. A lot of people would have said, "This is ridiculous. What are you doing?
Yeah,
you're a copywriter. Why are you making cheeseburgers?" She was cool about it. And I think that, again, this is where this whole premise of being in the right place at the right time. I could tell you this: my ex-wife would not have stood for it. No freaking way. She would have lost her mind. Ironically, though, she wears the swag all the time. She's like, "Send me a hat." Like, okay.
Where was this support before?
So a whole nother podcast right there.
3 years of this, right? Were after that 3 months of operating capital, were you in the black?
Yeah. I mean, but when
it was never about making money for you.
$200,
Okay.
I mean,
what was the most money you made with the food truck?
Well, that was right before we went into brick and mortar, and that's because after we get Best Burger, there was a couple of,
and that was in 2020,
early 2020, and then a couple of different influencers showed up, and they actually came before the Best Burger, but they did move the needle back then, big time. I mean, I got a post on one of these and next thing I know, I got a line. You know, I got people waiting to try it and to talk to me and all that type of stuff. And so that happened. Best of happened, and then the pandemic happened. No, a couple things went on during the pandemic.
You still had the food truck at this time.
Yeah.
Was that food truck the one that's parked in the parking lot? Right now?
No, that's a catering bus.
Okay, got it.
No, I sold it the minute I got brick and mortar.
Get this thing.
Give me the money. Get me out of here. Yeah. But everything closed for 2 weeks. There was nothing.
But you could still do a food truck.
Food trucks were open.
Yeah.
So then I got even busier. So all of a sudden, here I am. I'm like, okay, I got press, I've got awards, and now I have exclusivity in a sort of way, you know. And it was strange, you know. That's when the whole 6 feet thing was.
Were drive-thrus open?
Not for that 2
I
weeks.
was going to say, P-Terry's, were they still ripping?
Not for the 2 weeks. 2 weeks, anything brick and mortar, they needed to shut down while they figured this whole thing out. And then they, you know, then the deliveries came out. I still love it. I hate to admit to being lazy. I love curbside, especially at the end of a day. I like driving up, texting I'm here, and they hand me my food and I leave.
Yeah, there's their level of convenience.
I love it.
I think part of the game is you got to just learn how to meet everybody where they're at.
Yeah, and for some businesses, I'm impressed that they still keep it.
Yeah.
I would have thought by now they would have gotten rid of it. But.
So during that 3 years, can we talk about some of the strategy in terms of your PR approach? Like your whole thing is to test. This is a case study.
Yeah.
So what was the actual strategy, the approach? What was your plan? What was your strategy?
Well, the first plan was to learn the atmosphere, learn the environment, who's out there, who matters, who's doing what and why. This is something big from advertising, that you don't want to come up with an idea that's already been done. That happens all the time, and most places don't care. But if you're, you know, one of the creatives that really cares and gives a shit, you want to be original. You want to come up with something, so you have to know what else is going on.
So you're studying the market. You're looking for holes.
Studying the market, not necessarily just looking for behaviors, looking for opportunities.
What behavior did you see? What up, Unstoppables? This episode is made possible by Restaurant Systems Pro. If you are a listener of Restaurant Unstoppable, I know you've heard me mention Restaurant Systems Pro, but just in case you haven't heard of it yet, it is a all-in-one enterprise solution. All the most critical systems that will help you become profitable. I'm talking about costing. I'm talking about inventory management. I'm talking about budgeting. I'm talking about labor management. I'm talking about training. The list goes on, all under one roof, tied to your general ledger, and they have their own POS, and they integrate with nearly every major POS out there. Restaurant Systems Pro is an amazing tool, and this is the thing that gets me really excited. When you join Restaurant Unstoppable Network, you get access to the CEO of Restaurant Systems Pro, Fred Langley, twice a week for a P&L Power Hour. He literally will let you open up your P&L, share it on the screen, and he will help you close the gaps and increase your profitability. You do not have to be a Restaurant Systems Pro user to benefit from these live events. He doesn't care. We're just here to help you. Head over to restaurantunstoppable.com/RSP to get the full playlist of every Restaurant Systems Pro episode, a link to all the testimonials. And if we haven't sold you on Restaurant Systems Pro by then, I don't know what else to do. But if you really want to up your Restaurant Systems Pro experience, be sure to join Restaurant Unstoppable Network too. All right, guys, one more time, head over to restaurantunstoppable.com/RSP.
Food trucks at that time were an up-and-coming consumer behavior. They were still novel. Austin was right at the front of that trend too. So opening a food truck wasn't as crazy. I always reference Luke's Inside Out was a food truck that it was on Diners, Drive-Ins, and Drives. He was parked out front of the Gibson Street bar, which is ironically now where I have one of my trailers. He was the first what's the word I'm looking for here? Food trucks up to that point had been hot dogs, and they were just real simple type stuff. You didn't expect to get cuisine out of a food truck.
Tacos, cilantro.
Yeah.
Jay had Jay Kim on the show. He had his
what's the term?
Torchies.
No, when you go to the baseball stadium, the football stadium, as they call it, concession.
Yeah,
they were like concession stands.
Okay.
And now all of a sudden you've got some of these places that are making just amazing food out of a food truck.
You got chefs that are putting out real stuff.
It normalized it, yeah. And Luke was one of the first, and his interview with Guy was just so cool. And if you ever go back and look at it, it's what that whole show was built on, things like this. He truly found a place that was making these rabbit sandwiches and things that nobody had seen before, and he did it so well, and it was so consistent. And I don't know if he ever made a ton of money out of it, but he definitely made a living doing it. And so, food trucking as a culture was something that I was learning about. Austin, the market you're in, you got to know what makes them tick. I mean, that's marketing 101. So just by going around, before I opened, I went to several different food trucks, kind of caught the experience. Never been a big thing for me. It's funny, the more I'm into restaurants, the more I'm into just give me my food, let me take it home and eat quietly. I grew up with, I'm the oldest of 6 kids. I hate big meals. I always have. Everything was a big meal. Trying to get a word in, everybody's talking, everybody's complaining, where are we going to go to eat? There's 7, 8 different opinions. I like serenity now. I'm a Seinfeld guy too.
Yeah, I mean, I think today, again, it's just about, like, there is opportunity wherever people need to eat. There's an opportunity to meet them where they're at. Whether that is they want convenience, they want value, they want experience, they want to be wooed, they want to impress somebody, they just want to, like, have an adventure with food. Like, there's so many different points of, like, touch points.
The bulk of that 12K went towards identifying these influencers.
So the PRs.
PR, yeah.
Okay.
The bulk of that was really about getting me, because as much as I know about advertising is a small portion of marketing. It's just a part of the mix.
What is the majority of advertising? Like, what was it like for you? Is it just about the communication of the brand and the creating the emotion?
Yeah, I mean, when I was employed, I was just tasked with making cool ads, whatever media it may be, whether it's radio, TV, any of that stuff. When you become an agency owner, you're forced to see the bigger picture. You become, and especially I was in a small market, I was in El Paso, so you become their marketing director, which is very different from big ad agencies who work with companies that have marketing directors. So strategy is laid out, focus is laid out, the agency just needs to execute. But in smaller markets, and as a business owner, you have to develop the strategy. You have to burn both ends of that candle.
So the strategy was PR. Public relations.
Yeah, strategy was, and again, remember, I wanted to learn social media, so the strategy was get me engaged in social media and how it matters.
Why did you hire who you hired?
A recommendation from a friend.
Okay.
Just, I went to a friend who I knew was in PR. She did more tech stuff. She didn't do food.
Do you still work with this publicist?
No, okay. I think they closed down.
Do you have a publicist today?
Not really. I did just hire somebody, and that's where I would like to see her grow into. She's very young and very intelligent, but young.
I think that matters. I think it's, they're paying, like, the market's driven by young people.
Well, and I also think I'm driving her crazy. She's same age as my kids, and I used to think I could stay up with what was relevant. No. No.
Yeah.
And I never thought I'd be the guy to say that music is garbage. It's garbage.
I was talking to Jason Carrier. Do you know Jason Carrier? So he was behind a lot of the big bars on 6th Street. He got out of that game. I can't remember any of the names of the bars, Jason. I'm sorry. But now he's behind Mama Betty's.
Oh, yeah. I just heard about them.
Yeah. They're killing it.
Yeah.
But he had owned 11 bars throughout his career, and some of the highest, I think the first and second highest grossing bars in Texas.
Yeah.
That's not easy to do, folks.
No.
People in Texas like to drink, and there's some big venues.
Yeah.
Second to only, like, sports venues.
Yeah.
So they were doing volume. And he was, I don't know if this is, he was doing over $1 million in revenue with 3 partners, like, not revenue, but profit on his own.
On his own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, that's a testament to what he was doing before, right? Why am I bringing Jason up right now? What were you saying? Oh, my gosh. What were you just saying?
Too many gummies, dude. I'm telling you, man. I have this. I've had this effect before, too. You're like, I want to mention that. I want to mention that. I want to mention that.
That's why every once in a while I'm
that's
down
the
here
shit
typing.
I bought it. Yeah, that's the shit I bought on Instagram. Isn't that funny? Look at that. No.
So, I mean, I think
going back to the PR element of it and the publicist element of it,
me.
I needed to create an identity for the business that was driven by me, but not me. And that sounds, it's almost like talking about yourself in the third person.
I remember what I was going to say.
Hit it.
Okay. So he was killing it in the bar scene, but he also opened his first bar when he was like 22, 23.
Yeah.
And he was creating what he wanted, and he was the target market.
Yeah.
You only have like a 15-year runway of, if you start when you're in your early 20s, that where you can figure out, eventually you age out of the drinking market, and like you are no longer the target market. You don't know what the consumer wants, and that was the point that I wanted.
Well, it's funny when I
which is
came
not
up
why
with
he owns family restaurants now.
Yeah, what were things that I could talk about and never become irrelevant, or at least not dated? And I told you I did a lot of work in the car culture industry, and I'd sit around with these guys, and they're so tight-knit. Like, if you mess up and you say, well, the 57 that had the 281, what? 57 didn't come with a 280. What are you talking about? They'd get on you. I mean, sports guys can be like this, too. So what is the category that I felt I could continually be at least not up to date with, but relevant? And food is what came to mind.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm a large man. I like food. And so that was what drove me towards the food truck. That's a step further back.
So in terms of the publicist, what was the strategy? Does it even worth getting into this? Do you think that strategy
That was 8 years ago.
8 years ago still applies today?
I think you need to know who the players are. I think it's important to recognize who is moving the needle and who is not. I think it's important to develop a strategy that you can maintain so that you're consistent. Consistency is one of those words that people misuse, but I treat every influencer like the same.
So was that a big part of your marketing strategy, was going to the influencers?
Well, I only went to a couple, and then they start coming to you.
Okay.
Once they see that so-and-so came to your truck, then other people want to come.
How much money are you spending on influencers?
I don't spend any.
You weren't spending any then?
No, I don't spend any now.
Now, should you, or could you, would you recommend or not recommend?
This is a discussion that we're having right now with my current publicist. I don't know, we got to get a better title for her. That seems pretty pretentious. I think there's a balance, like everything else. I just felt that it was not my brand to be like that. My brand is laid back. My brand is, hey, come in, tell me a story. I'll tell you a story. We'll talk some shit, eat some burgers, and then you're good. You're full when you leave here. You feel good about the money you spent. So paid marketing felt very contrary to what that whole thing was about. It felt very forced. And especially early on when it was paid for by, it just reeked of, I need you, so come help me immediately. And sometimes that works, but I'm an independent brand. I'm one dude. So at the time, it just seemed...
So it wasn't all just hiring influencers, though. You also developed the brand, you developed the tone. Get into like the strategy of like what was the brand that you think was going to resonate and hit, and like what is it about Jewboy? I think part of just saying that is obvious, that there's juxtaposition just in the title, right?
Yeah, I think it's, and I've always told people, it's not a license to come in and tell me your stupidest Jewish joke. That's not what I'm about. It's not about anti-Semitism, and obviously I recognize that I do tempt it. I just don't want to bait it. Does that make sense? Like, yeah, obviously calling it this is going to bring out some people. It's provocative, but it's
gets the people going as
with a narrative.
Kanye West song
yes, you gotta be able to tell a story. Why did you call it that? And I typically have two different ways of going about it. I said, do you want the academic version or do you want the personal version? They always want the personal version. Nobody wants to hear the academics behind it. Yeah, I grew up in El Paso with a bunch of Hispanic kids. Back then, I always thought that the whole Cholo culture was killer. Like, you show me vintage suicidal tendencies, and Psycho Mike is my spirit animal, man. That dude is just, man, he's big, he's tough, he's loud, he's fun, he's cool. Like, they just move, and like, I dug it. I liked the way it looked. I like big clothes, everything about it. So, we used the term homeboy all the time back in the 80s. So to me, I just want to be Jewish Cholo, man. If my wife would let me wear the Pendleton and pull my socks up, I would, but she's stopped that a number of times. So
you're just looking. So how did Jewboy remind you of that?
Well, it is a cultural mashup, and that's the PG version. That's the academic version. Is that it's a celebration of culture. As a writer, it bothers me when people try to fit things into small boxes.
So the idea of homeboy, tying that with your Jewish Jewboy.
It's the cuisine, if you can call it that, the fare, is a mixture of a lot of these things that I found. For example, the way we make the burgers. If you go to these little border cafes, it's weird calling them Mexican food because they're just border cafes. It's the local cuisine. So a lot of them will have Mexican food and burgers on there. One of my favorite spots in El Paso, I've been going since I was a little kid with my dad. They put onions down on the grill. They were raw minced onions, and the old man would take a handful and he'd throw it down. Grill was scorching hot because he wanted to get going. And then he had a second bin. He'd take a handful of ground beef, throw it down on top of the onions, and he had this huge spatula, and he would just go whack, 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 and just smash the beef into the onions. The onions grill into it, a little bit of salt and pepper, but not like you normally see. You see some of these places make burgers, they're dumping S&P on there.
They're trying to get that caramel a lot, that crust.
So, and we try to get it. It's not as pretty as some of the other things. So, yeah, it's a smash burger, but I never really smashed it because I wanted those onions to cook into the meat. That's what you see at these Mexican cantinas. Scrape it, flip it. I double cheese it. I like to put cheddar on there. I like real cheese. Instead, down there, they're putting the cheapest American you can put on there. Doesn't need to be steamed. go back to White Castle. Steaming everything makes it taste better. Steam bun, all that stuff. So we would then put the 2 slices of cheese on there, cover it, steam it, and then sit it on a soft potato roll. Well, the potato roll comes from Pennsylvania. When I spent my time in the Mid-Atlantic, Martin's potato rolls, everybody knows them now, but back in the day, that was a trick. That was something different. And the only reason I was able to get Martin's here is because Shake Shack moved into the market, and they knew it, so they had Martin's. So you get the Martin's roll, lettuce, pickles, mustard, and cheese. That's all very standard Texas cheeseburger. I know a lot of people from the East Coast can't stand the mustard on the burger.
I like it.
I grew up with it. Whataburger to me is still, I'll go there. I'll leave here and go to Whataburger.
I call Whataburger Texas Burger King.
Yeah.
Am I on with
it's better than that. I would say if you
want to... Terry's is Texas, In-N-Out.
Yeah, and I would say, Whataburger, I'm trying to think of all the places I've lived. Culver's probably comes closer to mine. Culver's a little better product, But anyway, so I just pulled from the different places that I had been, the cultures that I liked. I find the Pennsylvania culture fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you. I keep going too fast. Brain and mouth aren't always connected
anymore. We'll get through this together, man.
Yes, sir.
But what I'm hearing from you is behind every great restaurant is a great person, and the people who really just keep it authentic, genuine to who you are, what you love. You can sell that because it's real to you. You love it. You want to share it.
Exactly.
Right? But there's also that fine dance of, there's that approach of like reverse engineering what you love because it's true to you and you can sell it and you want to bring that to the market. But also there's giving the market what the market wants, because maybe what you love, maybe if you're from, the border of you grew up in that border mentality and you go to, I don't know, some market, like some upscale place in wherever.
I moved to Atlanta after I growing up in El Paso. I went to school here in Austin, first job was San Diego, second job was Phoenix, third job was Atlanta. First culture shock for me, not finding the foods that I'm used to.
That's a good market.
Not finding, and so it was very different, and it's just seeing how I personally adapted. And I don't know if these things are always conscious thoughts; they're just more of a subconscious way you go about living in a market. But for me, it was okay. It was worth it to take that chance.
So I guess the question is, like, some people would argue you don't create what you want. You give the market what it needs, what it's missing. You reverse engineer based off where the holes are.
Yeah, that's probably more thought than I put into it, but that's what ultimately happened. Here's a good example. We opened the Sub Shop. 6 months later. Now, Sub Shop didn't have 4 years of food truck, so I had to come in.
6 months later after opening
the brick and mortar here.
Okay, got it.
So I had no background with that. I had not sat in a truck for 4 years and made Philly cheesesteaks. So my initial response was to go classic, was to go purist. I got Omarosa rolls. I got ribeye. I did a Philly like you would get in Philly. And it stayed that way for a while. I used to make these carne asada Phillies for myself on the truck.
Yeah.
If you're not a chef, you are super excited when you get yourself a fryer and a flat top. I mean, I take the cheapest stuff I'd buy at the grocery store and put it in a deep fryer. Amazing, man. It tastes so much better. You've been microwaving the little Totino's pizza rolls. You haven't lived till you put them in a deep fryer. All of a sudden, you're just like, this is the best food and it's so cheap. But point is, I see things a little differently. I'm not bound by these culinary constraints that I believe should be there. And as I've grown with the company, we put more and more on there. We're careful to use certain products, not to mix and match certain things. But so I had this idea for the carne asada Philly. What I realized is that people that came in there were looking for what they get in Pennsylvania, what they get in Philadelphia. They wanted authenticity, and I bent. And I don't think it made as much of a difference. People were like, yeah, this is a good sandwich. But they didn't leave believing that it was that,
there wasn't soul. There wasn't originality.
Yeah. So it was a while, but then we refigured the menu. I changed the bread. I went with Toronto rolls, which you get from Chicago. So if you ever had an Italian beef from Chicago, it's likely to be on a Toronto bakery roll. Very durable, very soft, but can handle cold or hot. They dip those whole sandwiches in the jus. So we changed from ribeye, which never to me was true ribeye. It was kind of scrapped, to tri-tip. The tri-tip is a beautiful cut of meat if you slice it super thin. So we cool it, slice it. We changed from onions and green peppers. I put poblanos on there. Okay, and then instead of cheese whiz, I do queso. And all of a sudden, I was like, this is my Philly cheesesteak. And sales really have done much better with that version in there.
Well, it's a Jewboy.
It is a Jewboy, yeah.
Yeah.
And there is a sign up in there that what is a Jewboy cheesesteak? And it's a infographic, I'm advertising background, but
So similar to Franklin's, right? Like you're developing your Jewboy brand, and I was hoping to bring this to the conversation eventually. I used him as an example earlier, where he just decided to build this brand and then scale the brand. He's scaling it through his consumer product goods. He's got his rubs, his barbecue sauces. He is manufacturing
books.
He's got his books. He's manufacturing pits now, his grills that he's selling, and now he's manufacturing and scaling his knowledge through master classes.
Yep.
And it's all just the Franklin barbecue brand that he's finding. He's scaling. You also remind me of Angie's. Have you ever heard of Angie's out of Arizona? Angie's Prime, Angie's Burger, Angie's
I should know because
lobster roll.
I lived in Phoenix for a while, and my kids went to U of A.
This is recent. Do you remember salad? Or there was a salad concept that scales really fast out of Phoenix. It was like this, super healthy salad QSR. You know, is it just salad or salad and go or something like that?
I seem to remember that.
Yeah, so he was behind that, and he ended up bringing on private equity or venture capital or something like that. They scaled it, and he got out of it because he was like, "This is no longer fun for me.
It's not fun."
Yeah, he's like this. They according to him, they ruined it. Right, took whatever was special, and they just tried to
heard that
corporatize
story
it.
before.
Right.
Yeah.
So he got out, liquefied his shares, and then he went on to go start Angie's. Now Angie's his mother.
Yeah.
Angie is there's the human, it's a Jewboy, right?
Yeah.
There's a personal
there's
connection,
a narrative,
right? And he decided that he wanted to be able to bring really healthy food. I think his mother passed away from cancer or something, so he wanted to be able to bring really healthy food to people who can't really afford it, to keep people healthy. So what his whole brand is vertically integrating from buying the farm, owning the cows, owning the slaughterhouse, owning the distribution, and his first concept was lobster, Angie's lobster rolls. He has his own boats. He has his own pier.
He's
he has
in Arizona.
He has his own production. What they do is they break down the processing of the lobster, and they just ship the already processed lobster in bags, and they just heat it up and put it on a roll. And
I've heard of this with bagels, by the way.
But the cool thing that he's doing is he has Angie's lobsters, Angie's prime beef, Angie's burger, and he's using vertically integrating the farm and using all the bits and pieces, but delivering quality product to people at an affordable price point. But he's using the Angie's brand. So people recognize Angie's, and then they have a whole concept built around a single item, and there's trust in the brand. But you're similar with Jewboy, so you're leaning into the Jewboy brand.
Yeah,
there's something there.
And we did. Like I said, we had the canteen open for a little while. We're looking for new space for it. That was a really border Mexican food. Border comfort food is what I called it. The stuff that I grew up with that, certain markets give you those opportunities. You got a lot of high-end stuff. You got a low-end stuff. I always tell people we're somewhere between craft and comfort. I don't want to commit to being craft because I'm not a craft burger. There are some places here in town, if you've never had a burger from Dai Dewey, before Salt and Thyme closed, their burger was amazing. Leroy and Lewis, the barbecue places now. He's taking
had him on the show.
Leroy and Lewis. Yep. Evans, great guy. I mean, talk about a smart, talented, dude, you settle down, have a flaw or something. Anyways, but it's where were we going with that? Remind me.
I was talking about Angie's, talking about the brand.
Okay, yeah. Have you ever seen the Pappas family out of Houston?
No, but they're on my radar.
Papa Do's. So it's a similar concept too. I think what he's doing with Angie's is probably a little bit more noble than I am, and I'm always the first to admit it.
Well, nobility aside, the idea is the brand.
Yeah.
Take the brand. So you could have a concept, a full service restaurant, and you could have Jewboy Sliders, Jewboy Thick Burgers, Jewboy Burritos, Jewboy Subs, all under one brand, or you can take the brand and make individual concepts that are focusing on individual menu items, which you can build efficiencies around that thing, do it really well, but be your rendition of that thing.
Oh, we've definitely. I mean, the scaling is as much for making more money, which everybody wants to do. It's also for efficiency.
Well, 100%
just being able to order more
training.
and having prep done in a central facility and making sure that we're as efficient as possible. That comes from that. I'll be honest with you, I just get a little bored. I mean, I wish I had.
You're a creative, man. Like, you didn't get into this for the operations. That's not your passion.
No. And I have some really good people doing that now. Like,
Yeah.
they have really grown with me, and we've learned these things together. And, you know, learning process is going to come with some ups and downs, and we certainly have had some downs. But, yeah, for me, I don't know. As a creative director, I've been asked, is it scalable? I don't know. I don't know if it goes beyond Austin.
Well, that was one of my questions, right? Because the challenge with building a brand that has a person behind it, like you are the Jewboy, right?
Yeah.
That's
been called
hard.
that too. So it's a little weird. Like, well, you're the Jewboy. Well, you know, yeah.
Whoa. Sorry, excuse me.
On my better days, I guess. On my worst days, I don't know.
But like that's one of the challenges associated with building a brand, reverse engineering from you is like you're not scalable, right?
No, but I do believe that celebrating cultures is, and that's at the heart of this concept is, let's stop trying to fit everything in small boxes and let's start saying, hey, you know what? That sounds like fun. Let's try it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But with customers, I say the same thing. I said, look, you don't like it, bring it back. I'll replace it. I would much rather, no pun intended, eat the cost of a burger and have you walk out of here with something that you like. And this is something I say quite often when I work the register. Tell me what you think. You're not going to hurt my feelings. The only thing that's going to hurt my feelings is if you never tell me. And that's a hard customer behavior to break. Instead, they go home, and this is what I asked you to tell me to ask about Yelp. Instead, they go home and they write a review. Expected more, did this, would have liked it. I've had so many reviews where like, I'm not really into mustard. Well, then, goddamn it, ask me for mayonnaise or something else. Like, it's okay.
Right.
I was shocked when I first opened the truck how scared. I mean, you could call it a soup Nazi syndrome. Like, I remember this one dude, he's like, he says, okay, I think I want a Jewboy. And I said, okay, that's got lettuce, pickles, mustard, and cheese. Cool with that? And he's like, would it be, and he literally took like a half step back, like I was going to come out of the truck at him. Would it be okay if I didn't use the mustard? Like, yeah, man, am I eating the burger? Or you eating the burger? I'm like, it's okay. But the culture is so constrictive in so many ways. Like, oh, this is a chef, and if you dare...
Insult
the
way that it was intended to be experienced.
I don't think people should go out there and put ketchup on steak, but whatever, if that's your thing. My dad used to do it. It was so bizarre, but again,
I'm putting ketchup on a lot of shit lately. I'm not gonna lie. You know why? Because I'm trying to eat healthy, and ketchup is like one of the few things.
Yeah.
Like you can put brown. Did you say ketchup or mustard? I thought mustard.
We put mustard on there. Yeah.
Were you saying you said ketchup the whole time?
Yeah, you could. Well, you could.
Sorry, I meant to say mustard. I don't know why I was thinking ketchup.
Good.
I don't put ketchup on shit. That shit there's a lot of sugar in it.
Sugar in it. Yeah, if you're trying to eat healthy, that's why I was like.
I was like, wait, what?
But no, I mean, again, think about this. Like, it's okay. It's all right. I have my rules. No tomatoes. You don't want to, and I tell people, bring them in. I don't care. You can bring them food. Bring your tomatoes in. It's all right. I just don't do it that way. And as long as you're not over the top with it, but this idea of celebrating cultures beyond just cuisine, but really as it relates to what we're talking about today. I like different things. I want to try different things. We've done collabs with different places. We did a collab with a Chinese restaurant. We did a crab rangoon burger. We took their crab rangoon filling with some fried wonton strips, put it on top of the burger with a little bit of the sauce. It's fantastic. They, in turn, took our picadillo mix, put it into their rangoons, and made this picadillo rangoon that was tremendous as well.
Which is a great way to scale a brand, by the way. Doing those collabs, partnering with people who have followings and putting your spin on their food and pulling from that audience that they have.
And it's fun.
Yeah,
it's cool. Some work better than others. Some don't, and my point is that having this as a celebration of culture is definitely scalable. Yeah. Me personally, I mean, Jewboy is a way to define me rather than just calling it Moe's Burgers. It is a marketing trick. It's a way that you generate some interest. People drive by. I've had people walk in and go, "Is this place real?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's a real thing around." It's, and I'm cool with that. Obviously, over the last 4.5 years, things have evened out a little bit. I don't have as many people that come in and are like, I had this one guy come in one time. I guess he had never really been to anything Jewish related. And he walks in. It was quiet. It was like 4 o'clock.
Think kosher deli Jewish, right?
Well, yeah, but he was clearly East Texas, and he clearly had that look on his face. And he comes up. He's like, "So, can I get a burger?" And I was like, "Yeah, man, lettuce, pickles, the whole spiel, right?" And he goes, "Oh, okay." And then the last thing he asked me, he goes, are you Jewish? And I said, yes, I am. And he goes, I've never actually met a Jewish person before. And I said, oh, yeah? And he says to me, are they all as big as you? I was like, he was so genuine. It was really great, man. I mean, I'm not out there. I'm not on a soapbox. I want people to buy burgers. And like I said earlier, I have a problem with cars. You've talked to Brandon. You know him in cars. Like, I'm right there with him.
Hunt. Yeah. Repeat guests on the show. I love the Hunt brothers, Zane and Brandon. I mean, would you believe it's 3:46 right now? We got a few minutes before we got to wrap this thing up. I do want to get to kind of where you are today, some advice, marketing advice on what you're doing today. In terms of marketing and feedback being a big part of the success, listening to your customers, are you leveraging any technology today to tap into that feedback?
No, and a lot of that comes down to maintaining the vibe, if you will, the brand. We capture their phone number so we can text them when their food's ready.
Yeah.
But I don't really want to abuse that privilege, and that's what I tell them. So right now, even though it's a bit hypocritical coming from a marketing background where data is king, I would rather focus on still this organic feedback, meaning I talk to people, I get a lot of feedback from them. I read, the different whatever posts that are out there.
What about on the back end with, like, say, a tool like Marquee, for example, that is like a dashboard that will take all of what's being said on the internet, like Yelp, Google, TripAdvisor, and it pulls all the feedback into one spot so you can see what people are saying and respond to them?
I haven't. So I have a policy. I've never responded to a review, positive or negative, and I never will.
Okay. But you still want to hear what people are saying.
I want to hear what they're saying, but you I don't know how much in my current situation with 2 brick and mortar and 2 trailers, I can get it. I can get on there and still see it. We're not so big that I can't do that myself. Plus, like I said, I go and I talk to people. I learned early on that I had to wear my logo on the shirt so I didn't scare people. But that kind of goes twofold. Like, I'll be out in public and I'll be places, people like, I know who you are. I've been on a few different TV shows, regional ones. Man, a couple of them really still really move the needle. Texas Bucket List. Shane is a beast, man. I wasn't too... I was like, yeah, it's cool. Come in, do a segment, whatever. I clearly like talking to people, But, man, he moved the needle a lot. But I will get recognized. I was at the airport the other day.
I don't know if this podcast is going to move the needle for you in the Austin. No, my target market is not Austinites, unfortunately.
This is very therapeutic, I think, to not only me speaking, but hopefully for people listening. Like, I want to be honest. I want to be truthful about it. I don't want anybody to think that there's magic beans. Everybody's success is going to be based on different factors that they personalize, that they put in there. And I'm very conscious of this one too, because oftentimes, and you haven't asked the question, but the question is, what's the secret to your success? And I always say, I don't know, because I am not successful. I'm succeeding, but I'm not successful. Successful is an endpoint.
What is that? What is your vision of success? When will you have been there? Like, what are you aiming for?
I don't know. I'm so old now. I just figure I'll work till I die. So I don't know if that's...
You're making money, right?
Making money.
You're paying the bills. You're fiscally sustainable.
For now. Yeah.
You've scaled. You've had to close a few locations.
Yeah. We've closed 2 so far.
What happened there?
The first one was that corporate entity I was telling you about. It wasn't my vibe.
It was a food hall?
The food hall.
How long were you there for?
About a year.
Okay.
And we got it to profitability.
Okay.
It wasn't terrible. It just became an afterthought. I felt like it was kind of dragging my brand down. I wasn't able to do the things that I like to do, and the money we were making didn't justify it. And that has to be a very real discussion.
The money you're making meaning you're barely in the black.
Yeah. So
it wasn't enough to the good wasn't outweighing the bad.
Well, the nice thing is when you open multiple locations, you don't need to make a lot to do well. Meaning, if one entity gives you $5,000 a month, another one gives you another $3,000, another this or that, plus your main lifter, you're okay. You don't feel the pinch as if you were it was your only one. But it just never felt who I was. And it was part of an experiment to see if I could exist in this corporate entity. The other one was an experimental thing, the cantina that I was talking about. And there was just some issues with the landlord, issues with the location. That is something, man, as much of a cliche as it is, location is so big.
Right.
Still so big. And then depending on your market, parking is everything to some people.
I had the CEO of Lane's Chicken Fingers on the show, Garrett Reed, and he and his brother and his father had a real estate development company. Maine and Maine was their job, and he had specialized in helping franchises scale and find real estate, and his brother is the real estate guy. And I'm keeping my fingers crossed that we can get his brother on to lead a workshop on like what to look for in real estate.
Man.
There's such a that in itself
Huge.
is such a conversation.
Huge.
There's so many variables.
So cliche, location. Yeah. I've heard all that. They're not kidding, man. You could put 5 more locations to that statement, and it becomes that much more.
What was your challenge with that one spot?
Parking was a big one. Demographics were not as I had anticipated them. It was a location by the campus, and when you look at things, and this
I think that demographic would kill with you.
You get this 40,000 population base within 2 square miles. You're just like, oh my God, how can I not succeed here? Well, what you don't realize is that over half of that 40,000 are freshmen and sophomores. They're first time out of the house. They don't know how to act like grown-ups yet. They have meal plans. They live in, I didn't dig deep enough. I got a little bit cocky and a little bit arrogant, and that's something we all go through. And you hit a couple of, I don't think that if you're going to use a baseball analogy, I think I'm a pretty good, I hit a lot of doubles and occasional triple, like that, but I got cocky. I didn't look deep enough into it, and you realize that now that 50,000, 40,000 is down to 20,000 and still very good, but a lot of them are faculty and staff, and they don't want to be around other kids. They want to get the hell out of there, so they don't eat by campus. Or we did get a lot of catering out of it. Catering has been a pleasant surprise for me.
What percentage? That's something that I usually ask. What percentage, like what is the breakdown of your like marketing mix in terms of like where is it going? Like what of all of your orders, how many are from in-house?
So here at Burgers at the flagship, it's a solid 50-50.
Okay.
I think people still come in, get it to go.
In-house, 50 take out or delivery?
Yeah, we don't do any delivery from the main restaurant. Burgers don't travel.
Yeah. So you don't do any third party or anything like that?
Not at this location, not at the full-size Burgers. Sliders, on the other hand, travel quite well.
Yeah. And
it's a younger demographic. Look, I respect everybody, but I'm not paying a 15% markup plus a delivery fee plus a this plus a that to get 2 sliders and a bag of fries.
What about a marketing? Like you're a marketing person, so a lot of the argument is you're not paying, like you're getting access to this marketplace you wouldn't otherwise have access to.
So with the trailers, it has been a really pleasant addition to the whole thing, and that makes on one trailer it's closer to 70-30, meaning 70% is coming from delivery, 30% is coming from people within walking distance.
Okay.
The trailer on 6th Street benefits from foot traffic. It's a late night place. I look on the cameras at night. There's drunk people feeding each other. It's cool. It fits the vibe. It's at a dive bar, and the dive bar, it all works.
Right.
But the new one we're opening is predicated on delivery.
Yeah,
we're expecting to get a significant percentage from that.
Okay. And you were saying, and I cut you off to kind of get more into it. You said catering is a big part of the business. But where is that? What percentage of your revenue comes from catering? It's
a new part of the business. It's not quite big yet, but it definitely pulled us through the summer when things get hot.
Yeah, summer's weird around here. People leave Austin during the summer.
It's hotter now,
yeah.
man.
It's getting hot. It's almost May. It's still in April, and I'm starting to get I'm barely surviving in my camper.
Well, you're from New Hampshire. Yeah, you're gonna feel it. No, I lived in Phoenix. I know what hot is, but this is different. It's sweltering. There's
still a little bit of humidity from the Gulf of
a lot of it. Yeah, you'd be. I mean, I lived in Atlanta, like I told you. You get a couple of those days where it's 95 with and I sweat. I got no hair anymore, so it's awful. You don't want to be in food and be a sweater, but no, catering has been a new thing. Like you saw the bus out there. We're doing mobile. We'll cater on site. It's fun. It's mostly sliders. In fact, it's all sliders. Again, I'm very protective of the full-size burger because it does its best when you eat it fresh.
Yeah, man, I'm eyeing those burgers too.
Yeah, you're going to get fed. Trust me. You're going to get fed.
What haven't we discussed that you think you need to discuss, that you think that you can uniquely speak to in terms of this is what I've learned and this is what I can pay for it?
I think you have to look inward more than I ever realized, because as it got bigger, the more I have to rely and trust the people around me, the people I hire, and take care of them. And I think that this business has oftentimes forgotten about that. And I see other restaurant owners, and I got friends that own restaurants, and they see my labor percentage and they choke on it. Like, what the hell, man? You're making burgers. Why are you paying this, that, and the other. My executive team gets paid well, and I know that I could be making more money, but would I truly be making more money?
Right.
No, I'm probably not, because the business would be smaller.
Right.
And I'd be working harder
Yep.
and killing myself. And you're never good when you're killing yourself.
Right.
You're just never that. So I think thinking about the people that work for you and with you, I very often say they work with me, not for me. And I know that's a goofy semantic, but it's true.
How's looking inward address what you're talking about right now? Taking care of others.
It being aware of what's going on, being aware of what happens within your restaurant. I think too many places
within, you're looking within the four walls.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of, it's sexy to advertise, it's sexy to get on social media, and it's fun, and you get those results. But at the end of the day, once you've got them there, and this comes back from my experience working at ad agencies, like, man, I had a car dealership client one time, and I drove up. I was better shape back then, wearing shiny shirts, had a watch, the whole deal, hair. I think I was driving a BMW at the time. Pulled up to this Chevy dealership. There is no reason to look at me and think this guy's not a buyer. I sat there for 30 minutes before anybody said. I went inside. I looked around. I didn't say anything. Nobody came up to me and said hello. Nobody said, "Is there anything I can help you with?" And I went back and I called the dealership owner and I said, "Look, man, before we do advertising, you need to think about a few things." He was angry. He's an old redneck guy. He goes, "Bullshit. My company knows to say hello to people." I said, "All right, we'll do this again. I'll come back in a week. Let's see if anybody says anything to me, and I'll tell you when I'm coming so you can watch." And I did. When I did the same exact thing. His face was, his office had a window out onto the dealership floor, and he pressed up against it. And I could see it getting redder and redder. Sure enough, man, nobody said hello to me. I said, "Well, look, what's the point in spending for advertising if your folks can't say hello to somebody?"
Yeah.
And I still think about that a lot. Like, say hello to somebody. You don't know what kind of day they've had. And some people come in and they're like, "Look, I want a Jewboy, I want this, I want that, I want that." I said, "Okay, you're going to have about a 20-second window here when that credit card is processing. How's your day? Everything good? Doing all right? Look at things. Look at. We have the Children's Hospital nearby here. You see someone with that Children's Hospital badge on, give them a cookie. Say, I don't know what's going on over there, but just hoping that things go well. That's all. Little things like that go so far. And not only that, I think that they make you feel better doing your job.
100%.
Why not?
Yeah.
And so many of these companies they spend so much time wanting to be sexy and get out there. And I get it. It makes perfect sense. But
what are you saying these companies, what companies are you talking about?
some of these small
restaurants
chains,
okay.
restaurants. I mean, you go in there and I went the other day to get a burrito, and I won't name the place because I don't want to get anybody in trouble, but this was right out of a bad sitcom. The two dudes working in there were just over it. They were tired, and I could tell, and I was there towards the end of it, so I'm waiting, I'm patient, again, logo on shirt, I'm not going to get in any trouble. But the guy finishes at the register, and he's walking towards me, and I'm getting ready to give him my order, and he gives me one of these. He goes, pulls his phone out,
Oh, my Lord.
puts it back, and he goes, "Can I get for you?" Just like that. Now, normally I would be like, "What the hell?" But he owned it, man. He was so miserable. The food was fine. He did a good job with the food. He just didn't want to be there. But man, as a restaurant owner, I just look at that, and if I knew that type of crap was happening in my place, I would lose my mind.
Yeah.
That type of stuff. So I think that we're all looking for those magic beans when a lot of times they're right there in front of you. Little things that you can do, little things that make people feel better. Even at the trucks down on 6th Street, I still get feedback from people. Your guys were so sweet. Why is it such a big deal to be sweet?
Right. And this not the way that I was expecting this conversation to go in terms of the marketing advice. And I agree with everything you're saying, but the trend right now, I mean, there's just so much energy going into into marketing, into social media, into these platforms, and I was expecting more advice on that.
If you have a good brand, if you're comfortable with communicating, you don't need it as much. And I hate seeing people throw good money after bad. Or is it the other way around? Bad money after good. Point is if I have a background in it, I can curate what's being said, what's being shown. I put things up on the walls. I do those types of things because I think they matter. Other places to me, they're just looking for that quick fix. They think it's easy. Put an ad out there, get an influencer in, it'll be fine. There's so much more to it before you get to that point. And then At that point, you're in a very saturated area. Now, all food industry is saturated, let's be honest. Like, I'm in burgers. There's burgers everywhere. But it's okay because I know people want them. So I don't need to convince them what a burger is. I don't need to convince them that burgers are good. What I need to do is convince them that buying a burger from me is worth their money. And so much of that comes from inside. You can't do that with an ad. All my years in advertising, you can get them to the door, but once you get to the door, there's a whole lot more that needs to go into it. And so many people just think that it's like I said, it's a magic bean. And I hate seeing that as an ad agency. And now as a restaurateur, when I see these marketing firms and these different media outlets come at me, well, the Yellow Pages, I used to call them terrorists. They would go to these small businesses and say, nobody will know where you are.
Right.
You better have the biggest ad possible. My dad,
Yelp.
We had his, nobody's going to know about you.
Right.
Let's not be terrorizing people.
Right.
Let's be honest with them.
Fair-based marketing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's different for everybody. And that's the other thing is that everybody has a different approach. Everybody has a different narrative. What they're lacking is the ability to tell it and the understanding of why it's going to matter to people. They're so focused inward that they don't think about having a conversation with somebody else and what's going to matter to them. Why are they going to leave here and say, that was cool?
Yeah.
I had a good time.
I mean, but at the end of the day, you did spend 12% of your total operating SAR on PR, right?
Yes.
So there's some like what's that
Well,
balance?
it was a new business to me.
Right.
I hadn't done it myself. And I had seen how so many of these businesses suffer from, just being out there. Plus, I also knew that something called Jewboy was going to require a little bit of hand-holding. And I wanted to make sure that initial message was put out there properly.
Yeah.
It wasn't a hard sell. Obviously, the media found out some guy's opening a truck called Jewboy Burgers. They're in it for the clicks.
Let's look into this.
Let's look into this. But what happens after that is what's most important, and that's why I knew what I was doing from that point. I just needed to get to that point.
Yeah. I'll be honest, man. You're making me feel like, lately I've been pretty stressed out. I've been pretty questioning what I'm doing. Literally everything I do is the antithesis of what you're supposed to do in terms of how I find guests. My operational costs are crazy because I'm driving around the country. I'm living on the road to get these interviews. I'm going in person. I am using word of mouth to find my guests. I
was surprised that you were coming in person. I have to admit, I assumed it would be a Zoom or something like that.
There's just something about and it's not just the interview. It's the the communication is better because there's the energy.
Yeah.
I can actually focus on you for 2 hours when I'm in the same room as you. When you're staring at a screen, it's so hard to focus.
You can always tell when they're looking at their phones
right.
too.
I will say I did look at my phone a couple of times today, and I was trying to get onto the Wi-Fi so I could look something up. That's why, if you were wondering why I was on, I was like,
all you had to do was
disconnected.
No,
So
for me, I feel like we've like I said, everything is so black and white. We started the conversation talking about a society that is 50% split down the middle. I don't know if that's ever truly happened before in human history. We really, half of us believe that the other half are crazy.
Right. And, that's really what I'm trying to do, is to get out of the internet, I'm chasing word of mouth, and I'm chasing, nobody knows a market like the people that are in that market working. They know who their competition is. They know what people are saying behind the scenes. A publicist is going to paint this image for me. Right. They're going to say, this is my guest, and these are all the amazing things, and this is why. I'm like, I don't know that person. Are they making money? Do they have a good reputation? If I go into a city and I start talking to people and I say, who's doing it right? Who should I talk to? Who's respected? I'm going to get real shit. I'm going to see patterns of people. The same names that keep on bubbling to the top are the people I'm going to talk to.
And what's important about this is not that I'm giving you some secret. Like I said, I do not like that question, secret to your success.
That is a whole marketing ploy. The whole idea of secret is you're missing something, and it's mind trick. Sorry.
But you're absolutely right. Be okay with yourself. Whether you're a numbers guy and you want to run it that way, whether you're somebody like myself who tends to be a little bit more cavalier, which is a good word. I like to use that one. But look inward, figure it out. There's people out there that can help you, that will help you. But if you don't have your shit straight, you're just going to flounder. And I seen it with when I had the ad agency. I'd get so frustrated with these clients that would come to me and say, we got a good product. We should look at this, and that. No, I want to do TV. yeah, but it's cost prohibitive, and we can't do production. Yeah, but I want to be on TV.
Yeah, man. I could keep talking to you, and I really want to. Honestly, I'd love to come back in the future and pick up where we left off.
We'll see what happens in the next year. It's always each year is, and that's the crazy thing about only 4 years in brick and mortar. I'm still shocked, and a lot of it has to do with the pandemic. Obviously, that was a weird and different time, but how different year after year becomes. And one of the things that I was concerned with when I got into this business, I don't like having the same day twice.
Yeah.
That was a big push for me to go out of being a doctor to go into advertising, because every day it was something different. New clients come, change new problems, new things, and I felt like that was the way to stay sane. My concern with this place was that it would become the same day over and over again. And it has some elements of that. There are moments that I'm just like,
You can also outsource a lot of the repetitive. You can surround yourself with, frontline employees or accountants or the inventory, like the meticulous things you got to do over and over again, the details.
And that is where I'm at now, which is great. But I don't wake up as early as I used to. I don't have to. And for better or worse. And I think it's worse. My wife works from home. She's up and working. I come stumbling out of the bedroom at 9:30 or so, and she's like, "Why didn't you wake me up?" She goes, "Oh, I tried." Shit like that. It's a very
because I like
lifestyle.
The peace and quiet.
Because you take the dogs with you, and I finally get to sleep, so it works.
I have a couple questions. We got to wrap it up. We're over time, so I want to make sure we get these out quick. What is one thing about your business, a value, a process, a system that's truly uncommon and makes you unstoppable?
I think it's the true faith I put in the employees.
Mm.
And that goes back to the give a shit. If I believe they give a shit, I will have faith in them.
I love that. And the mission statement is to inspire, empower, and transform the industry. We do that by making an example of people like you who have these values, or sharing values, and we're helping one individual at a time with an aiming point. This is how I can transform. So how have you personally transformed? How are you a better man today than the man you were when you started in this industry, which was only 8 years ago, but maybe like the younger version when you were in marketing?
So pretty much everybody listening to this is going to fancy themselves an entrepreneur, and whether they are or not, one of the things that I struggled with when I opened the ad agency was employees. Things that I thought were going to be the best part became the worst part. And I had, at one point, my ad agency had 15 people or so, all college educated babies, man. And I was younger, so a lot of people that worked for me were either my age or older, and that created some issues for me. But I hadn't learned how to be a manager yet. Even when I worked in big corporate agencies, people did what they were told to do because they had to. I like getting people to do what they need to do because they want to. And one of the things that I think I'm slowly getting better at, and I say getting better at because I don't think I'm great at it still, building a team, having faith in your staff, making sure that people understand what matters to you so that they don't let that happen. They don't let anything happen to that. So if I'm better in any way, it's because I now have a better understanding of who my staff is and what matters to them and how to make that work for me.
I love it, man. And this is the last question before I have you call somebody out, and it's a doozy, so get ready for it. If you got the news, you'll be leaving this world tomorrow. All the memories of you, your work, and your restaurants would be lost with your departure, with the exception of 3 pieces of wisdom that you could leave behind for the good of humanity and your legacy. What would those 3 pieces of wisdom be?
Find a way to be happy.
1.
Find a way to be happy. Life's too short. There's no reason. We have come so far as a species. We poop and it goes away. We don't have to worry about it. We live in a golden era. Be happy. I never understood my really wealthy clients that were such assholes.
Right. And the cool thing is happiness is a choice.
Yeah.
I think people in today's world, I think we believe that money is happiness, status is happiness. Yeah. And I think that narrative is so further from the truth. And we can choose to be happy today with what we have.
So I want people to know that yes, you're right. Yeah. Choose happiness. And I know that's hokey, but it's real, and it will change how you produce in real life.
What's number 2?
Happy. Well, I'm gonna come back to give a shit. Care about what you do, because again, life's short. Yeah. Why are you doing it if you don't care about it? Now, I have people, specifically my wife, who disagree with me. She looks at work. My dad was this way. Work was a means to an end.
Yeah.
I look at it simple as this. We're 50% of our life we're asleep. Of the 50% we're awake, 70% of it we're either in school or we're at work. So you're left with what? Do the math, you're better for me. 30% of your life, 25% of your life for you to do what you want to do with it. And actually half of that because you're asleep the other half.
Right.
make it relevant, man. Just find a reason to be engaged. I don't care if you're if you're doing spreadsheets, just enjoy it. Try and find a way. And if you can't, and maybe you're the flip of me. Maybe you're like my dad. He was a podiatrist. Nobody wants to look at feet.
Well,
I got one friend that's got a fetish, but other than that,
Here's the thing, though. We're all different, and I think that's the beauty in us as a species is we're meant to go further together. There are the dreamers. They're the visionary people, the idea people, the people that can't sit still, the people that get distracted easily. And those tend to be entrepreneurs. They're pointing where this is where we're going. We're going this way. And they surround themselves with the people that want the security.
And it's easy for me to tell you to do that. But at the same time, and I have had help. I genuinely dislike people that talk about, starting from nothing, self-made. There's nothing self-made about me, man. My parents helped me when I needed it. My wife helped me when I needed it. I am fortunate, and I hesitate to use the term blessed because that's a whole nother story, but I've had help other people. That would be probably my third one. If you can help, why not?
Yeah.
Because it'll make everything better. And like I said, I'm not self-made. I hate that.
Choose happy, give a shit, help others.
Yeah.
This has been fun, man.
Why not?
Thank you so much,
My
Mo.
pleasure.
Who do you respect and admire? That's how I found you. This is my North Star. Who's out in the world doing good work? People that you think I should get on the show. If they were a guest, you'd be like, I want to know what that person has to say.
Eric Silverstein comes to mind immediately, and he's Peach Tortilla, and I just met with him the other day. I mean, talk about people that you're able to talk to and that help you and see things from a broader perspective. What I never liked, I went through this with my old man when I was figuring out colleges. He figured I should do it his way because his way had been successful. Yeah. And I think that's unfair to people. Like, there's multiple ways to get to a successful
especially
point.
in this industry.
Yeah.
And that's one of the biggest lessons I've learned is that there is no one way. You got to share all the perspectives.
Take what you hear, internalize it, but don't feel as if you're not doing exactly, if you don't have exactly what Mo did, God, I hate talking about myself in third person, you're going to be okay if you've got your own vision, your own, all these principles. If you'll just own them and believe in them, then you're going to be much better off. So Eric Silverstein definitely comes to mind. Who else have I talked to?
Well, you think of that, I'm going to take a selfie because I haven't done it yet. And in today's world, if you're not doing selfies, there's something wrong with you. Cool.
I've had to learn to take pictures of myself or be in pictures. I'm not photogenic, man. And
you're doing great.
I see these pictures up, people post them. I'm like, good God, look at me, man. I look like a cartoon character these days. I used to be a powerlifter in college. And it's cool when you're 25 and you can bench press 450 pounds. When you're 55 and you can't lift your arm up past here, you're like, so.
Well, man, Eric Silverstein's awesome.
Eric's a big one.
I actually had him on the show. And he was somebody who I thought, should I reach back out to Eric to get him back on the show to see what's going on these days? I can't remember where he was at with Bar Peach when I last spoke to him, but I'd love to get him back on the show. And this is where I say, man, well, actually, I got to give you a chance. How do we connect? If we enjoyed today's conversation,
all the social media still comes to me. So all those DMs, the websites come to me. Mo at jewboyburgers.com. That's, my cell phone number is a little tricky because that's what the number I used for the truck for 4 years. And I've tried to get it. I get some weird texts.
Okay, we don't have to give that out. There's social media and emails. That's good enough. And this is where I say I cannot do what I do without people like you willing to get open, willing to get vulnerable, willing to share. There is no question, my man. You are unstoppable.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks for the time.
Thank you. Cheers.
Oh, man.
Yeah, of course.